Hello, gorgeous soul, and welcome to this epic podcast. This is a place where you are encouraged and you have absolute freaking permission to unapologetically go after all of your dreams, all of your visions, all of your things on your vision board, like everything that your heart desires. I'm your host, Angharad, the High Vibe Babe, and I believe that we're all in this life to expand and experience our wildest dreams. If one of us can have it, then we all can. So that is the aim of this podcast. Each week I'll either be going solo or have guests with the aim to inspire, uplift you and give you the tools for you to live your most epic AF life and business possible. You can find me on Instagram with the handle @HighVibeBabe. Now let's get into today's episode. Hello babes, I'm Angharad here, High Vibe Babe. I am so excited to today be bringing a really special guest onto my podcast. Sabrina Haesche is a mindset and women's empowerment coach who helps driven women overcome insecure communication habits, unhealthy emotional patterns, and limiting beliefs so that they can align with their true, authentic selves. Sabrina is the host of Simply Sensational podcast and the owner of Simply Sensational brand. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be so fun. I'm so excited.
Yay. Okay. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and sort of what journey life has brought you on so far?
Yes, it's a very interesting journey for sure. So I think we started our businesses around the same time. I just realized this. Like yours was in April 2019, around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was like February is when I hired my first business coach, and I didn't even have a business yet. I literally was like, maybe I can have a blog. I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I just knew I wanted to do something, and I knew that I had like a story to share. And so after I realized I hated working on my blog, and I really liked posting on social media. So I pivoted to being a mindset and a women's empowerment coach. And yeah, I launched my first webinar in April. So I think we started around the same time. So that's super cool. Yeah, so I kind of dived even deep into mindset. I was a teacher at the time, full time. So like high school teacher. I just quit my job this last school year. So 2020 was my last year. And it was crazy balancing my business and my full-time job. I also directed shows, plays, productions. I was a theater teacher. So like my days were longer than long, and it was hard to fit my business in, but it was still something that really lit me up. And I knew that it was like the thing. Like doing my first ever webinar, I was like, okay, this is freaking amazing. This feeling of teaching women with my story, of actually just sharing my heart and soul and what I've learned and what I've been through, and it changes lives. Like this is magic. And I knew that I had to do it for the rest of my life. And so basically from that point, I was like, I want to quit my job, in 2020. And it was scary. And then COVID hit, and I was working from home earlier than planned, but it actually really like helped my business to kind of like jumpstart it and give me that kind of space to ease into working from home. And now I'm full-time entrepreneur with my business, Simply Sensational, and it is crazy what's happened in a year. I'm also 17 weeks pregnant. Wasn't planning on that, but that happened as well. And
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, and I'm just kind of riding with it. Like every month I'm like, okay, what can I do now? What's the next level? What's the next scary step that I can take? And kind of just playing it by ear, because that's kind of how I roll. I know you're a manifestor too. Like we never know really what we're going to be into next. And that's what I love about it, though. I love about business is you can create whatever you want. And I'm really diving into communication right now. That's kind of like my jam, and speaking about how to communicate with yourself and how to communicate with others and how to just be confident in your voice and speak your truth. I'm really like all about emotions and diving deep into that and really connecting to your soul and really understanding yourself on another level when it comes to your emotions, because for the longest time I was scared of my emotions. So I'm talking about those two things right now, and also one-to-one coach. So I'm loving this journey. It's crazy. It's a crazy ride, but I wouldn't give it up for the world. It's amazing.
It's so beautiful. I love how, I mean, all design types can do this as well, but as a manifestor, I could never imagine having one thing that we do with
Yeah.
our business, hey? It's like, we would feel like, no.
I know, it just did feel wrong. So I bounced around a lot, but it seems like I like to talk about mindset stuff. So I'm kind of, that's where I'm at right now.
Do you want to talk to us a bit about mindset then? Like, what are your basic principles? Like, what's been the big transformations for you, and what do you like really help you? Like, what's really present for you right now with mindset?
Yeah. So I've been diving deep, like I said, into communication with self, which is diving deep into like who you are at another level and really like focusing on what you want and your desires and not letting the outside world impact that. And I was very much kind of falling into this pattern, like quitting my job. I was very like, oh my God, like, is this what I'm meant to do? I'm expecting a baby now. Like, is this really what I like? Doubting myself a lot. And
Mm.
I realized I was looking to the outside sources for all the answers when the answers were all inside of me. And as I've dived deep into like what I want and what I want to create, what my life is going to be like, and why I'm actually making the decisions and made the decisions I made. Like, it's just reaffirming that I had the answers all along. And a lot of it is like just unpacking that distrust with myself. And like a lot of that was made by like experiences that I had growing up and limiting beliefs that I really held on to, that I really didn't let go of. And I think at every single level in business, I know you probably experience this too, you kind of face the same belief or same pattern and you're like, oh, this is just another level, another layer to the onion of this same sort of problem that I'm facing. And for me, it was this distrust of myself. I didn't trust that I had the answers within me. I didn't trust my intuition. I wasn't trusting like that I could make the next decision and make the next step and it would be good for me. I was doubting myself. So really kind of limiting beliefs, I that's what I kind of started out talking about, and it all kind of circles back. It all kind of connects. And when you really discover what your core limiting beliefs are, they're going to come up at every single level and you're going to face them in a new way at every single level. But it's familiar, so you can recognize it faster and switch and shift faster. So that's kind
Yes.
of where I'm at. And it's been a ride for sure. Those are my core things: is limiting beliefs, connecting with your emotions, and just being really, really honest and open and raw with yourself.
I totally agree with all the things. I'm sure I heard someone once say, new level, different devil, but it's like new level, same devil. It's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
the same stuff. And one of the things that I think I've got open heads and just have taken everything from everyone else. And
Mm-hmm.
like, we also do this as manifestors too. We like take it on and integrate it. Everyone does this, and then we like spit it out in our way. But like this, when we're healing trauma, for instance, or, it's painful in the beginning and then it gets better. It's a cycle though, and then it comes back around and we feel it again. We're like, what's wrong with me? I thought I dealt with this limiting belief and the patterns that were keeping me where I am, right? And then we heal it, and then we sort of go through it and we move through it and it goes around again. But the thing is, like, it's like a vortex. In the beginning, the circles are quite tight, and then at the end, it becomes like bigger and bigger. But every time we come back to it, we still have the thought of like, these horrible, like these, our self-talk, right, can be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so shit with myself, like why haven't I strong enough to like move through this? Why has it come back around? We like doubt ourselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And the doubt with manifestors is like huge. And I think that was something I really need to like just be super self-aware when I'm doubting myself and not trusting myself. And it's scary to just full on go with your intuition, be like, this is what I meant to do. I wouldn't like, no matter what the fears are, I'm just going to push through. But that's
Mm.
what's led to the most transformation, I think, in my journey. And in my journey as a coach too, like knowing when things don't feel right and trusting that there's a better way out there, even if you don't see the steps. Like I feel like I imagine stepping stones, and I really everything is foggy. It's so blurry, but only the thing that's clear is the next little step to take. And I just had to
Mm.
trust that that is the step to take, and just to go forward. And like I'm not where I want to be in my business. Like if on the what a society would say, you're not ready to quit your job, but I was ready in my heart to quit my job.
Mm.
And like, I was like, I'm not going to wait another year, because with teachers, it's like contracts years. And I was like, no, it's not going to be my life. I'm not going to be unhappy because I'm not where I'm supposed to be in my business. I'm going to quit my job and it's going to accelerate my business. It's just going to happen. It's the success is inevitable. So just believing that one little step is where you're supposed to be and continuing from there. And the doubt and the fears are going to come up. But that awareness, I teach so much about awareness and being so emotionally aware of what's going on in your mind, in your heart, and how are your words shaping your reality. And are you really like are your words and your actions matching up? Like, are you doing what you say you're going to do? Are you working at that level of your next level self, or are you playing it small and playing it safe? And I never wanted to play it safe. And when I catch myself doing that, I definitely shift fast or try to like get out of that fast, because it's not moving me forward to play safe for sure.
Yeah, I also totally agree with that. The safety thing, we do get stuck up in that. We totally do. And just everything, the whole evolution, the fog thing. I love that analogy with the fog. It's so damn true. It's just about the next step, right? Like, we have this vision of a business, of a multi-million dollar business, or like whatever it is that we have, right? But it's about steps, and it's not always clear at the time, but we always look back in hindsight and are so damn proud of ourselves for being the boss ass bitch who jumped off the cliff and like everything was met and laid out. Like, we always, in hindsight, is a beautiful thing to be able to come back and look at it.
Yes. And sometimes you're like, this will be good in hindsight. Like, you have no idea at the moment. You're like, this sounds crazy. This is scary. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel lost. But then you're like, no, I just know this one thing. I'm going to cling on to that truth because that's what's keeping me going. And I've learned to live sort of like in that bravery, I'd say. And my coach that I was working with, like, she called me out for being brave. She was like, you just didn't give up. You didn't give up. You kept paying every single month when you had no results in your business, no physical like results, but you just kept going because you knew it was making me a better person. Like, I didn't do it for the money. I don't do this for the money. I do this for the experience and the journey that it's taken me on, because that's priceless to me for sure.
Yeah, and like as manifestors, so I have quite a similar story to you as well, right? So we left our farming job just over 12 months ago, and my business was earning like $1,000 a month, if that.
Yeah.
Like we left a 6-figure business to go and pursue something that made sense, and I was investing tens of thousands. I'd invest tens of thousands of dollars into my personal development at that point and continued to, right? But like, and then now it's like, of course it paid off. Like, of course the success is inevitable, right? Like, but the thing is, when it comes to mindset and stuff, if you're doing the exact same things, you feel comfortable, right? And if you want different results, you have to act differently. So your subconscious program is going to lose its shit when you try and go and do something different.
Yeah. And I've seen too that like you can make a move and like you're totally scared, and like your mindset has to catch up too. Like, you have to give yourself some space and some time for your mindset to get to the same level that you're acting at sometimes. Like, you're pushing through the fear, you're doing the damn thing, and then it's like, oh shit, what did I do? And then it takes like a week or so, you'd be like, oh, okay, that was why. Like, it all kind of clicks back into place and you're back at that level with that decision. But sometimes you have to leap first, and the mindset and the thought processes and those fears are going to linger, but then you just got to keep working at it and be like, okay, now we're good. And then what's next? What's the next scary thing? It just never stop growing.
And that's the great, like, I always feel just as scared whether I'm investing like $100 or $10,000. Like, I honestly feel the same amount of fear. It's insane sometimes, but you learn to leap with the fear anyway, right?
Yeah.
It becomes part of it, and you know that that's what growth means, is pushing through the fears and acting anyway. And I'm here for like a lifetime of continued growth. We are, right? And it's just powerful and amazing, and something I will never go without. We will never go without.
Yeah. And I've seen too, like, it's not only impacted me, but it's impacted my relationships. Like my relationship with my husband, we communicate so much better than we did before I started a business. Like, I had to face my money fears. I had to face my fears of investing. I had to face my fears of just failing and trusting myself and like that has brought us so much closer together. And then every single level, I'm like, okay, this is something else we can tackle. This is something else we can work through together. This is something else I'm going to work on that I know is going to radiate to everyone around me. Like, it's not just us too. Like, I think we feel really alone sometimes in entrepreneurs, even though we have great online communities, we can feel alone because maybe we're the only one in our town doing this, you know, maybe we're the only one in our friends circle that has anything going on like this. And you kind of have to remember that, like, you're doing this not just for obviously your happiness, but like your family is like benefiting just by seeing you leap and seeing you taking those scary things and doing those things without being ready. And like, it's paying off. I know that my baby girl is going to see me like in the future going after my dreams and doing the thing and doing the crazy amazing things that I have in my mind and the dreams I have. But I have to get there. So I'm gonna do that for her. And so just knowing that it's bigger than us too is helpful for me. For like, I don't want that lone wolf manifestor mentality. I didn't want to be stuck in that. Sometimes I can feel that way.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like that. I kind of tend to, I think the lone wolf thing happens. I think kind of, it's probably more of like I would describe it as like we're a leader. So we don't always feel like we really gel too much or that there's people around. So what I do is I jump in high level containers, like women who are earning $100,000. I hire coaches who are earning many $100,000 a month. So like I'm always feeling like there's someone else to calibrate to. And that sort of like stops the lone wolf stuff. But what we say, relationships. Oh my gosh, yes. Do you want to speak a bit more about relationships and how that has like transformed and what's been happening in your relationship after learning about emotions and all and mindset and just everything you've led yourself through?
Yes. So with my motion stuff, like what I teach is you're learning yourself at a different level so you can share yourself at another level. I, like, when my husband and me got together, I had done a lot of like almost like emotional stuff because I had to. I was in a really traumatic household for 3 years in my early childhood. Preteens, and I basically was emotionally shut down. And so coming out of that and going into a more loving home, they taught me how to feel and feel again. Like, I basically had to relearn how to feel and how to express my emotions. And so I came from a place that I was able to express my emotions, but I was still very afraid of emotions. Like, I didn't like when people cried at movies. I didn't like seeing, outbursts and just like over dramatic expressions of emotions because it triggered something in me that I wasn't ready to express myself that way. And so getting into a relationship with my husband, like, he is a lot more emotionally reserved, and he didn't come from a family that was very expressive in that way. And so I kind of had to use the little bit I knew to sort of help him, and we've helped each other in that so far. I mean, he's been willing. It's always good to have a partner who's willing to learn and willing to change and willing to work with you, because I don't think you can have a relationship without that. But I've diving deep and just looking at my childhood and seeing that. And I also like did a program where I overcame emotional eating, and it dived super deep into emotions. Like, that was the core of it. And I didn't realize there was so much that I still need to dug up. Like you said, we think we deal with it, we think we're healed, but then we're not, so it was another level that I had to dig through. And because I did all that work, and because I've seen how I'm connected to my emotions in a whole different way. I thought I was healed, like, as, a 16-year-old, but I was so not. Like, it took a long journey to get to where I am now. I see that, like, this has helped my relationships in the fact that I can identify how I'm feeling. I can speak, like, in a way that's like, hey, I need to feel this right now. Let's just table this conversation for a little bit. Or, I can come into a conversation and know that this is how it made me feel. This is how it impacted me. How can we work on this? And really kind of expressing where I'm at and being totally honest with that. And that gives the other person permission to do the same. And that's why I teach in my program, Emotions Exposed, like, how to really be exposed in your emotions, so that when someone comes into your world, it comes into a new relationship, they can feel safe to express themselves too. And by you just being fully expressing yourself, that gives them the permission too. So with that, I've been able to have really real and raw conversations with my husband. I'm emotional authority. So I've always been emotional, and for a long time I shut it down. And this business conversation, like this business stuff is emotional. Like it's a lot. And you have breakdowns at every new level, and it's scary, but having a partner that like can see that and understand that and know that you're not falling apart, because you, even if you look like you're falling apart, it's just you kind of exploding to rebuild in a way. And it's really helped our relationship to talk about these things. He's more rational, he's more logical, and I'm more creative and more expressive and more feeling. But come to a place where we're like on the same level, because a lot of this investing, it's coming out of our own pocket. Like, like you said, like it's made life, I guess, not harder, but like more strategic with how we spend money, because we're putting it towards these investments, right? And you have to kind of talk to your partner about these things, or that could destroy your relationship, really. And because we haven't shied away from those conversations, because we've come into it with like, we love each other and we support each other, and no matter what, we're gonna keep going. That's what's made our relationship stronger, and I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It sounds like you guys met each other like exactly where you need to be, and we're very open with one another and sharing emotions. Like the difference between how we share emotions versus men as well, I always find that quite interesting. Melanie and Leah explains it, like, I mean, and other people too as well, actually. Jake Woodward is another person I quite like to follow for like masculine and feminine energy, but how when we share our emotions, we just like want someone to listen, and when men share their emotions, they want it to be fixed. So when we share, they want to fix it. And we're like, no, you're not listening to me. Like, listen to me. And they're like, I am. It's now fixing it. Do you know what I mean? The masculine feminine energy is like so different.
Yes. Alex is like, my husband is like, what do you want me to say? Like, he's like, I have a solution in my head, but I don't think I should say it. I'm like, and someone will be like, I'm ready to hear your solution. Or like, I'm not ready to hear your solution. But it does come with time to just know that we express things very, very differently. And my husband's a generator too. Like, he's go, go, go. And I'm like, chill, let's relax, let's have fun, and like things like that. And not that generators don't have fun, but they are much more like drive in them and more energy. And I've had to have lots of conversations about how to navigate that as well. And just be open about how you work. If you figure out how you work and what works, what feels good to you, you're so much a better partner, because you can express that to them and they can be like, oh, now I know your manual. Now I know how you work. I can meet you where you're at. So this diving deep into your mindset, this diving deep into figuring out who you are, like it's beneficial for not only you, but everyone around you that comes in contact, because you can express who you are. You can tell them, and in words that make sense to them. And that communication is so freaking key.
I totally agree. And just before, when you said about the generator thing, with the fun thing, my husband's also a generator. And I think that his idea of fun is just very different to my idea of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So being able to all the communication is 1,000% key in relationships. And it honestly never, I remember like hearing that. Did you hear that as a child? Like,
yes, it seems so cliche.
I know, right? And now, like in our personal development work, we're like, what the shit? There are so many layers to like, and so many different things. You can pull in human design, you can pull in, emotional intelligence, you can pull in mindset, you can pull in like, these are just the 3 things we've been talking about, but there's so many other things, masculine and feminine energy as well. You pull in all these different layers, and it just changes so much about the whole communication game. It just completely flips.
Yes. Even my husband has been kind of diving into human design, listening to some podcasts and stuff. And he's like, like, like more getting like how we're different, but also like how we can work together. And I'm like, yay, thank you for like trying to speak my language, to see like what I'm working towards, what I'm diving deep into, because it is a whole other language when you're in this personal development world. And to be able to tell that to somebody, to be able to express that, or for them to even meet you where you're at and try to learn too, like it helps so much, because you're like, okay, we can understand each other on a different level, on a new level now. And we're in this together. It's not like just me working on myself over here and you're like not changing. You're actually working together.
Yeah, and I think there's so much to be said for like cleaning up our side of the street, right? Like I have so many clients and I'm involved in so many circles where the women like end up taking the lead. They clean up their side of the street and lead themselves, right? Through transformation, through personal development, through coaching with their business and all these sorts of things. And then their partners aren't always like on board to begin with, or like they slowly listen. And eventually we find that by leading ourselves, actually the transformation happens for them as well, because we like normalize it and we talk about it and they're like, whoa, what's happened here? There's like so much difference in you. And they like begin that transition where they begin to go down their own path, although it may not look the same as ours, but when they go down their own path, it changes everything. When you can have those like conversations about concepts about human design or communicating our emotions, it really does like evolve our romantic relationships specifically very, very substantially. And I think that's like, you know, for a long-term relationship, it's something that's like so key, but once again, something that I hadn't really ever been exposed to like growing up. What about you?
Yeah, like I mean, my parents had a really parents that I, ended up with. I might have a complicated backstory, but like my parents that I tell my parents right now, they had a really loving relationship, but I wouldn't say that like, yeah, they dove deep into personal development in that way, but they obviously communicated a lot. Like they always were talking. Like I had the room right next to theirs. I could hear them talking late up into the night. Like people that you just share. You just share what's going on in your life, how you're feeling, and what you're learning. I think that is just that communication piece and them being willing to listen. That strengthens your relationship right there. So no matter what level you're on with any of this personal development stuff, if you just start sharing, hey, I read this in a book today. Hey, I heard this on a podcast. This was interesting to me. Like you don't have to share all of it in depth or have them go read the book or the podcast or anything, but just sharing, hey, like this was cool. Like I thought this concept was cool. And if they're open, like that is huge for a relationship. And if they're not open, you can always have that conversation, that tough conversation, like, hey, this is stuff I'm interested in. Like, I want you to be involved. I want to be able to tell you this stuff, but it discourages me if you aren't open, and things like that. Like that conversation right there can be so healing. And I think any partners that really do love each other can be like, okay, I can understand it. Maybe I don't understand the word when you use manifest or when you say like emotional intelligence. So you use these fancy personal development words, but if you speak in the language that I understand, like this can be a transformation for you both. I feel like they don't have to meet you where you're at. Like you said, they can go their own path, but if you see them moving, like even just a little bit, that is like huge. And you can see that you had that impact. That was a big thing of investing every single time. It was like, Alex, I might not have the money, but you can see that I've changed. And he was like, yes, I see that you've changed. And I was like, it's evidence, right? It's evidence. So it's all good.
Really powerful. I would love for you to speak about emotional eating. Please just have the floor. Just go for gold.
Yeah. So my experience with emotional eating, I thought that was just like a label in my life. I was like, I'm an emotional eater. That just happens. Like when I'm stressed, I like to eat. And I had a very stressful teaching job. I basically built a theater program from the ground up and was leading this huge program after school as well as teaching full time. And I would literally call my husband on the way home and be like, hey, what are we eating for dinner? And he'd be like, well, this is on the schedule. I'm like, no, that sounds gross. Let's go get something to eat and blah, blah, blah. I would always think of food as like distracting me from the stress that I was under, food of like being exciting and tasty, which food is good. Food, is exciting and tasty, but it shouldn't be the thing you're looking forward to the most. It shouldn't be the thing you're looking to for stress relief and tension relief. And I saw that was kind of where I was headed with that. I thought, oh, that's just who I am. And I didn't realize it until like probably, I don't know, maybe half a year into my like mindset journey and like personal development. I saw this coach and she was like talking about how emotional eating affected her and her story and how you didn't have to turn to food to really solve this in yourself, that there was other avenues. And that all comes down to our trust in ourselves and our emotions, or even just not being able to face our emotions, so we eat instead. And that was powerful. And I took her 4-month course, and it broke me and rebuilt me in a way that like I could never ever. She was a manifestor too. I think it just really jived with her.
Wow.
Melissa Buslowski, if you want to look her up, her program OEE, Overcoming Emotional Eating, was what I did. Mm-hmm. And I was facing some stuff from my childhood that I didn't want to face. I was facing some stuff even from friendships, and seeing how the patterns were repeating themselves because I was so afraid to be open and raw with my emotions. And I was like, we're talking so much about emotions, when are we going to get to food? And she was like, this is the core. This is the core of it. And I didn't realize that, but as soon as I was actually dealing and facing those situations in my life and those emotions that I was so scared of, the less I wanted to solve them with food, and the more I was turning towards better coping mechanisms like yoga and exercise and breathing and meditation, and just not coming home like really, really stressed, but actually like talking it out and actually being like real with myself about what was happening in my world. And that was transformational. I didn't realize that it was so connected. Even though it's called emotional eating, we don't really think of it. It seems like just one whole word, emotional eating, and then you're like, oh wait, no, emotions is a core of that. So that led me, like, that was amazing. And I wouldn't say that like I definitely did overcome emotional eating, but it's still something I struggle with sometimes. And I think that any emotional eater can say that too. But it is sort of just recognizing, what am I using this food for? Is this to like cheer me up, or is this in addition to an already good feeling that I have? Like, and how, like, separating it that way. So that has been huge for me, and huge for just like my journey and my teaching in my emotions course, like how to identify the emotions in your body without wanting to immediately mask them or distract from them.
I love that. That's so powerful. And yeah, I the whole term emotional eating, I just thought, like, I think I remember was probably introduced to it when I was quite young. Maybe my mum used it or something, because my father passed when I was quite young. So it was like, I don't know, just emotional eating or whatever.
It's like part of society. Like, it's like normal.
Yeah. It's almost like, I don't know. It's one of those words where it just doesn't, I think it's maybe you're not feeling the feeling because we're emotionally eating. Not feeling the feeling of emotionally eating.
Even anyone says it, they're like, oh yeah, I'm sad, I'm gonna eat some ice cream now. Like, it's such a thing in the world. Like, people don't realize it's a problem.
Yeah, it's lovely to break it down. And actually also with you, I mean, no matter what, we all have emotions, but also having an emotional authority as well. It's something that for us to like, because emotions are such a big part of your life. Like, it's something that is like a really massive part. So
never stop
for you to, so for you to understand it in such a, like a deeper way sounds like it was like so incredibly powerful for you.
Oh my gosh. It was a turning point for me. In my business, in my life, and everything. And I could see too, as a teacher, how like a lot of my students were struggling because they weren't facing their emotions too. And so I was seeing it all around me, that it was a problem in society, that women were told that feeling like you're being sensitive, you're being overdramatic, you're too much, like don't cry, and those type of things. Like, that was so prevalent in our society, and no one was saying it's okay to feel, like, feel it out, cry it out, don't be afraid to, like, that tears are streaming down your face, you're not weak, you're not any sort of less of a person because you're feeling something right now. And I realized, and I was doing that to myself even in the workplace. Like, I was trying to put on this really like tough persona because I looked young, I was a woman, and I basically thought that everyone else, I had to be tougher than they were because I needed to like show that I was capable. But really what my students like even said this last year teaching them, they were like, we want to see you show emotion, we want to see all parts of you. It's not just strength. They taught me a lot. It's not just strength to like put on a tough person act, but it's strength to show emotions and show all parts of you. And that's vulnerability. And that's beautiful. And like, I didn't realize that. It's just that it was this this whole thing in our society is like, be tough and don't show, don't cry. If you're tearing up, that's something wrong with you, you know, and like, I wanted to combat that. That's a huge part of my message, is that it's okay to feel.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And do you know what? I just realized as you were talking that, like, in our coaching industry, right? Like, being a leader is the most important thing. It's how we magnetize our clients, basically, right? Is us being a leader, embodying everything we talk about, and just like setting the standard and holding our personal power, which actually involves us showing up even when things aren't perfect, even when we've got the messy bun, we've just been bawling our eyes out, when our kids are screeching in the background and they're running around naked, whatever's happening, right? Like, it's not all about it being perfect. And that's funny, because it's like, that is literally how we create a successful business, is by not being perfect, but
Yeah, and
leading
it's so
ourselves
freeing.
through it.
So freeing to know that that's like the life we have, like, is to just show our life, show where we're at, the good times, the bad times, the exciting moments, and the celebrations and everything. And it's okay to feel things maybe privately and then share after. That's empowering. That's a leader as well. But just not to shy away from the uncomfortable stuff. I think that's what I like to talk about the most, is when I have those uncomfortable moments, because I can see just the transformation that's happening because of them. Because now they're not just a moment I felt down, oh my gosh, poor me. It's actually a learning moment where I'm like, oh, okay, like, there's a lesson here, that this was amazing. This is what I learned. And sharing that is powerful. And that's what I love to share. Not that I love going through the uncomfortable moments, but I feel like it's life. It's the nitty gritty. It's the hard times. It's the good times that make us whole, make us human, and make us relatable.
Yeah. And like, at the end of the day, you know, we have to be here for the highs and the lows to succeed in a business. It's just a
Yeah.
reality. So the sooner we embrace that and accept that it's normal, and that we, you know, anytime that we think it's not normal, we've just got some comparison game going on that someone
Oh, yeah.
else, we
Well, we're
just think
comparing
they're so
ourselves to
perfect.
like regular 9 to 5s, where,
Yeah.
you know, you have a whole week or two where you're like, it's just fine, you know, like, no ups, no downs. It's just fine. And like, I'm not here for fine. So I'm here for
Mm-hmm.
playing big. So the highs and the lows and the ups and the downs, it might be crazier because we're entrepreneurs, really, but we're going to experience them in a deeper way, like more than someone who didn't do all this work in their mindset, who didn't put themselves in these challenging positions. They couldn't like experience that way. They would maybe break them, or be too much, or be too overwhelming. But for us, we're like, no, we're playing big. Like, we're going to be open for these big emotions because our heart is big enough. We've cultivated that in ourselves.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And we jump in the big ponds because
Yes.
we're here for the big things.
Love it.
That's beautiful. Okay. Do you want to share with us what you've got sort of going on at the moment, and ways people could work with you, and then how they can connect with you as well?
Yeah. So I am like launching a program like this coming Monday. So it'll probably be past, but Confidence Communication is launching, which is my program about communication. And it'll probably launch again because I'm so deeply in love with it. So if you're interested in that, like, that's all about communication with yourself, communication with others, and communication in just your overall presence. And like I said, that going deep and speaking your truth and really aligning with your desires. So that's happening. And then I have my program Emotions Exposed. It'll be launching again soon. I have no timeline for these things, but they'll happen because I love that program as well. And that one is the diving deep into feeling, like, and actually like understanding how emotions work in your body and expressing yourself to others in a way that's freeing and authentic, and knowing your emotions on a deeper level. And then on my one-to-one coaching, I always have space. So that is 1, 3, or 6 month commitment. And that's a mindset, women's empowerment coaching, which is like basically wherever the client wants it to be, but it's mostly like supporting you in your mindset journey, like understanding your patterns, understanding your limiting beliefs, and understanding how you want to navigate and break through to really step into this next level of self, this next version of you that you are proud of, that you are authentic in yourself and you feel like you're growing. So that can be an ongoing thing. Mindset is ongoing forever. So
Oh,
those are
yeah.
the ways you can work with me. And also my free group, Simply Sensational, on Facebook, and my podcast, Simply Sensational, as well. And Instagram at Sabrina Haesche.
In the notes below, there'll be all the links for all the places you can connect with Sabrina. And yeah, I just want to thank you so much for being on. It was an absolute pleasure.
It was so fun.
Do you have any last little nuggets or anything else that wants to come out?
Don't be afraid of diving deep into yourself. Just do the work. Like just take the one program that you've been eyeing, or do that one thing that scares you, and see it transform you. Like just take that little leap when you're like, oh, this scares me, but I'm going to do it because I really, really want it. Like, do it. It's going to change you. It's going to help you get to know yourself on a deeper level. And there's nothing more fulfilling than knowing yourself and knowing like what you want and your desires and being so confident in that. So just take the next scary step.
That is absolutely beautiful. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for being here, and thank you everyone for listening, and we will see you very soon. Bye. If you have enjoyed this episode, I would adore if you would screenshot it, chuck it up on your stories with your favorite takeaway moment, and tag me at HiVibeBabe on Instagram so that more people can see this and get this content and get this message out there to really shape and change and impact other people's lives. Do you desire to be around more high vibe women who really get you, who encourage you, who like support you no matter what? Yeah, well guess what? I have a place that you belong. It is called High Vibe Babes Community. It is a free Facebook group and I would love to have you in there. There are so many free trainings and epicness in this group, so please get your booty in there. It would mean the world if you would subscribe to this podcast, do the reviews, the rating, the stars, all of the things. Thank you so much for being here. I cannot wait to chat with you on the next episode. I'm sending you all of the vibes and all of the love. Over and out from Angharad, the High Vibe Babe.